Woo! All right, Jesse on fire. Welcome back to the channel. We are going to talk about UFC 259. I want to talk about each of the fights. I'm going to tell you what I think is going to happen, even though it's going to be pretty, I don't know. But first, I want to talk about how fired up I am for these fights after watching the UFC 259 countdown, because good God, man. UFC, they do such a good job with those. Such a good job. The countdowns are amazing, man. I love them. And especially, I think they have, I'll talk about this one in a second, actually. But if you like the content, subscribe and ring the bell. We're going to break down all three of the championship fights, and then we're going to just, but like I said, we're going to start off with the countdown. So let's do this thing. Tell your friends. I'm going to get to 10,000. I need to get to 10,000 by April 20th, all right? Now, that is in a little less than 2 months, so any help that you guys can give, I will love you forever. Anyway, I'm going to keep making videos forever, though, so it doesn't matter. So here's the deal. UFC 259 is interesting because what I was going to say a second ago is that they had an interesting situation because they had 3 title fights to cover. Usually on the countdown, they do the main event and the co-main. In this event, they have 3 title fights, but they don't have a lot of meat on the bone for 3 of those fighters. So first of all, Jan Blachowicz, what are you going to do the countdown on, right? And I think this is interesting to even think about, because it's interesting to think about Jan Blachowicz as a fighter, as a human being going into the fight. I mean, everybody just does these things where they're like, well, the guy's great at kicking and he's great at punching and it's like there's so much more that goes into these fights. Because, that's the thing that I don't really understand how people don't talk about. I'll give you a perfect example, right? So I do the breakdown about Gaethje and Khabib, and I said I thought Gaethje I said it was 50-50, but I thought Gaethje had the best chance to beat Khabib because he had great takedown defense. You didn't want to be stuck on your feet with Gaethje, blah, blah, blah. And what's crazy, so Khabib goes in and he wins, right? Now, had Khabib lost, right, people would have been like, wow, great breakdown. That, he knew Gaethje would win. And they wouldn't have known that Khabib had mumps 2 weeks before the fight. That news came out. He had mumps. I realized mumps is basically eradicated in the West, but clearly it's not in Dagestan. It's super, dude, did you see the pictures of his face? So there's all this other stuff. There's the mental game, there's health, there's injuries, there's all kinds of stuff that is just completely outside of this guy is good at this and this guy's good at this and this is what I think is going to happen. So that's why I think these countdowns are interesting, because you get to see this other side of it. It's all right, so how does Jan Blachowicz live his life? And it's he fights, he goes to work, that's it. He fights, he lives in Poland, he has a family, he goes and takes ice baths in the frozen river. There's nothing to his life except fighting, which is very interesting to me. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. People forget about that because people are like, the Polish power. You realize he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's like a high-level black belt in jiu-jitsu. Now, I don't necessarily think that's going to matter against Izzy, because Izzy has 100% takedown defense rate. I don't know if it's 100%, but I unless I'm forgetting, I've never seen him taken down and held down. Actually, I would say 99% sure I've never seen him taken down and held down, not even once. So, yeah, the smart money is that fight's going to stay on the feet. But anyway, then you have Izzy, who is the exact polar opposite, who's jet setting. He's at the All Blacks game, which, if you guys don't know rugby, the All Blacks are a huge deal. Okay, the All Blacks are the Manchester United of rugby, or Barcelona, or AC Milan. One of these huge clubs, except the All Blacks are all of them put together. The All Blacks are the most prestigious rugby team in the world, period. And, he's sitting there and he's on the roof of the All Blacks stadium. He's a jet setter now. He's super famous. He's doing well. He bought his mom a Porsche that I like a lot. I have to buy a car. And, we have some flexibility financially right now. So, I don't know. I don't know about a Porsche. That might be too expensive. But yeah, right now I don't have a car. I do not have a car. I sold my car. I have an electric skateboard. It takes me everywhere I need to go in the Bay Area. But we are moving, as everyone knows. And so when I move to another state, I'm going to buy a car. I don't think, we're probably going to end up in Nashville. I don't think I want to be a prick with a Porsche in Nashville, And also, I don't want to tie myself to any super heavy bills, because when I get to a point where I can do this full time, I don't want to have to be like, man, I need to be making $250,000 on YouTube to be able to go full time. I want to have flexibility. That's a gift I'm going to give you guys in the middle of an MMA video, okay? If you want flexibility in your life, okay, keep your bills low. Don't buy expensive things that have monthly payments on them, okay? Because that is what dictates what your options are, okay? When you have kids, you have a wife, you have a minimum amount of money you have to make. my wife makes money, so it's whatever. But like, if you want the ability to kind of do what you want to do, keep your bills low, because then you can. Anyway, I don't know how that just happened, but we're just throwing that in there. I'm not buying a Porsche, is the point I'm making. So yeah, then you got the Petr Yan, Petr Yan, and Aljamain Sterling. That is a fascinating fight. Both those guys look like they come from really fun camps. Petr Yan is like a really, I don't know, like he's like one of those guys that like has known he was going to be a champion his entire career. Like when he talked about on the countdown, he talked about he went in 2016 and trained with Jose Aldo, and he used Jose Aldo as like the gold standard. He was like, I knew he was better than me then, and I thought to myself, if I can't beat him, how can I be a champion? And which, I mean, there's so much in that statement right there, right? Because what did he say? He's not trying to make it to the UFC. He's trying to be the best in the world. It's a mindset, and that matters, man. Like, there's no accident about him being there, right? And Aljamain is the same. Aljamain is an exceptional competitor. Like, 8 fucking multiple-time All-American, high-level black belt in jiu-jitsu. I think he's going to have a real hard time with Petr Yan, though. Like, Petr Yan is... if the fight goes to the ground, Aljamain's going to win. I mean, Aljamain he's an anaconda on the ground. But on the feet, Peter's going to eat him alive. Peter's going to eat him alive on the feet, in my opinion. So I honestly have no idea who's going to win that fight. And going back to the Jan Blachowicz and Izzy fight, let me just say this. I think that Izzy is going to win, and I'll tell you exactly why. I've never seen a chink in his armor, okay? Except for the Kelvin Gastelum fight. Like he got touched in that fight. He's not gonna be able to take shots like that from Jan. But since that fight, he hasn't taken any shots. You know what I mean? Like he hasn't taken any shots. He took one shot against Romero, but since then he's fought Whitaker, Romero, and he's fought Paulo Costa. And in any of those fights, which are kind of similar, like big, strong guys to Jan Blachowicz, he hasn't taken any heavy shots. He took one heavy shot from Romero on the forehead, and aside from that, no one really hit him real hard, And so if he can avoid getting hit, I mean, the smart money's on him. He's already gone up in weight classes in kickboxing and boxing. He fought at heavyweight at both those weights, and he won. So, again, and I've talked about this a million times, man, speed and precision is what wins fights, not titanic power, because the power doesn't matter unless you land, So, anyway, I mean, listen, like, the reason why he was able to eat Paulo Costa alive, and they showed this again on the countdown, was Paulo Costa was trying to bait him into getting in close so he could get him with hooks. And Izzy's like, yeah, I'm not going to do that with you. Why would I get in close with your little Tyrannosaurus arms? Like, Paulo Costa is dangerous in here because he's got little tiny arms, like me. And so, it's to be able to hit those guys that are exceptional at controlling distance. If you have short limbs, your footwork needs to be incredible. I mean, that is how you do it. You just have to have amazing footwork, because what you have to be able to do is you have to be able to close distance very quickly, all in one motion, where you're like, if you're trying to stick a jab, you have to be able to be moving all at once, because you have to, the difference in your arm length needs to get covered by your footwork, And Paulo Costa definitely did not have the footwork to hang with Izzy, because Izzy ate him alive. Now, Jan closes distance very fast, man. If you watch his fights, when he does those body kicks, he has that body kick where he's moving in while he's kicking, and like, I don't know. I can't pick against Izzy, man. I have the only time I saw him take any shots was against Kelvin Gastelum, and that was kind of like a really weird. He's so much better than he was then. I gotta pick Izzy, but who knows? I mean, Jan, if he touches you, you die. So, but I'm gonna go Izzy, then I'm gonna go Petr Yan in the Aljamain fight, just because I think it's going to be so hard for Aljamain to get in. But I will say this, I am going to be rooting for Aljamain Sterling 100%, okay? I'm going to be rooting for him. He's one of Nicksik's guys. I love that guy. Eric Nicksik is one of Aljamain's coaches. He's a savage. Love that. I will root for his fighters always. And, but again, like I said, okay, so look, if I had to pick, I would pick Petr Yan. However, I will be zero surprised if Aljamain wins, because if Aljamain gets a hold of him, it is an astronomical mismatch on the ground. An astronomical mismatch. Did you guys see what Aljamain Sterling did to Cody Sandhagen? He got him on the ground. He literally choked him in a millisecond. He took his back and then boom, sunk it. Done. And you could tell when you watch that, it's one of those chokes where you're like, oh my gosh, that's actually painful to look at. It looked like he's gonna pop his eyes out. I mean, my daughter has a good rear naked, and like she's 8, and when she really sinks it in, it hurts me. Like it hurts. She's 8. Okay, I could literally pick her up and throw her through 4 walls. Okay, like pick her up, throw her through a wall, through that wall, the next wall, the next wall, the next wall. And when she sinks a solid rear naked in, like it hurts. Okay, if Aljamain Sterling put that choke on me, it would crush my larynx. All right, so like he's just a vicious soul crusher on the ground. So yeah, so we'll see. I mean, I know that's a really fucking willy-nilly pick. It's not even really a pick. I'm kind of, if I had to flip a coin, I would say 51% Petr Yan and 49% Aljamain. Then let me actually say one more thing about that. Aljamain has that real funky stand-up, like it's hard to, he's hard to kind of time because he's throwing pretty, unconventional strikes. I just think Petr Yan's speed and precision is going to be vicious on the feet. Anyway, neither here nor there. Amanda Nunes and Megan Anderson. Okay, so obviously Amanda Nunes is a huge favorite there, deservingly. The only thing I really have to add to that is that she just had a kid. Like, they just had a kid. And she didn't carry it or anything, but she's a brand new mom. She's bringing the kid to practice. Literally, the only thing that could threaten Amanda Nunes is complacency, right? She has a brand new baby, and I've talked about this a million times, okay? If you have a person who is in a singular sport, like a fighter, tennis player, golfer, etc., they get a new relationship, like a brand new girlfriend, brand new boyfriend, whatever, that is kryptonite for most athletes, okay? And so I don't really know about a new baby. Like, it's not really the same thing, because the reason why it's kryptonite is because you're so emotionally on the other person. Having a kid is a little bit different. It's not like, like you want to see that you love the kid, you want to take care of the kid, whatever, but it's not the same thing as like a new romantic relationship that just sucks your soul out of everything else. It's like the only thing you want to do is like be with that person and hang out. It's biology, dude. That feeling right there that people get new relationship. I'm sure you guys know people who are like habitual relationship hoppers where they have new relationships constantly. There's a reason for that. Okay. And it's because they're like, like they think that like when that inevitably goes away in a relationship, which it always will, that means that like that person's not the right person. That's not at all what that means, man. Okay, that's that feeling that you get at the beginning of a new relationship is a biological thing that is meant to have you and that person go sit in a room for 2 months and fuck each other's brains out until you have a baby. Okay, it's biology. That is literally all it is. Okay, it's like, it seems like, oh my gosh, this mystical, amazing thing. I'm so in love. That's your biology, man. That's your biology telling you go make a baby so that we can perpetuate the species. So, yeah. Oh, I'm so in love. No, you're not. I mean, you are, but no. Like, no. That's your amoeba brain telling you to go make kids. Okay? So, sorry to burst your bubble if you're a romantic. That's what it is. Anyway, that's pretty much what I got. So, I'm very excited for this fight. I'm very excited for this event. And, this is a non-traditional. I'm sure this is the least traditional breakdown you've ever heard, right? If you're new to my channel, you're like, were we just talking about him buying a Porsche and then he talked himself out of it while on video and then he just told us why new relationships are bullshit? Amazing. I love this fucking channel. So anyway, if you like the channel, subscribe, ring the bell. Peace.